Hello everyone, welcome to Brenda's Brushstrokes and Bisque, painting live on Thursday, June 10th at 7 p.m. Central Time. And we are working on our Fungus Among Us box, which is our Boris and our mushroom. So these are the completed pieces. And last week we worked on Boris by painting him out. And let's see, I don't remember if I got all the way or not. I gotta do a little bit of looking here. So I just have to touch up a couple things. I didn't have time to do that this week. It's been a really busy week with shipping. So hello everyone and thanks for joining us. Courtney's getting things set up here for me quick. Just another busy day. So I do have number 2 is to paint the eyes on using black, white, and medium, but I actually think you can skip that and do that after we do our dry brushing later, but if you want to, you can do it now. And then our next option is to do our color washing, but I'm just going to touch up a couple things quick. So I see I have some, my green is showing through here, so I'm going to touch up my medium green. And then we'll actually antique it here tonight with our color wash. Not right now, thank you.
Do you have water for yourself?
I do not. So I'm just going to touch a few little things up here. Let's see, we've been busy at the classroom getting your boxes boxed. Courtney did say she's down to 3 boxers that she's shipping out yet. And then if you had orders added on to your boxes and you haven't heard from her, send her a message, but she's working on those. She said there's just a couple. I did bring her more bisque today, and then she also picked up a load of bisque this morning from me. So I'm just getting my rust here so we can't see through it. And let's see, we were busy at the classroom because it's been super hot here for June. I think we probably have broken records. We've been in the 90s. I don't know. Courtney says it looks dark, so she's playing with the lights here. That helped. I don't know what you did. So we had to put an air conditioner in the window there, and then my air conditioner that I've had at home in the window for like 15 years died too, so we had to replace that. So it's just been kind of a hectic mess. And then we have our July molds we're waiting on, and our company is backed up with those, so we actually had to come up with a plan for that. So they're shipping, they do have the molds made for us, and they're going to ship half of the pallets of clay and then the box molds for July. So I'm expecting a call that they're on their way tomorrow for delivery. They actually are on their way. They were shipped yesterday. We had problems with our business account with our credit union, and we'll be closing that as soon as the last check clears out of there, and we've switched to a different credit union because it just really made the boxes, the stuff would have been here today if they wouldn't have had their fraud alert and wouldn't clear the charge. It's just been one thing after another with them, and they told us it was solved and it wasn't, and so that just added a bunch of trouble to the week. So hopefully our molds arrive tomorrow that are for the boxes. We won't have the other molds that we ordered, all the inserts, they're not ready yet. They'll be coming probably in 2 weeks, they think, 2 to 3 weeks. And then it'll be a week of shipping, so probably not till the end of the month. And then we're going to add on another pallet of slips because we have to pay the extra fees anyway, so we're just going to get enough slip to get us through the rest of the year, and then that'll be covered. So I'm just touching up a little bit where I had anything off, because I do want this to look nice even after it's antiqued. So it's been a busy week as usual. We had some problems. We put some pots with plants in them at the classroom by the front step, and the wonderful raccoons have been digging those out and trashing them all over the place every night.
I like your flower.
I don't think they like the flowers. They like the dirt.
All that
They
for
must-
dirt?
They must think there's bugs in there or something for them to eat. I don't know what their problem is, but I'm like sick of them. I've had it.
I knew there must left.
And then with it being so hot, like the hanging baskets have to be watered all the time, and just been kind of a hectic week. But we'll get through it, and it'll all be good. So let's see. Courtney came today, and we did move the pouring table out of my dining room and into the garage. So that's
Woo-hoo.
I can sit on the couch and not feel like I'm closed in and it's gonna take over. So we have a lot more to do, but at least it's out of the house.
And mold.
And molds went out too, but there's still more to go out. So, but I'll get those.
And you got to deconstruct your father's shelving.
And we had to take shelving apart just to get the pouring table into the garage, but it's all good.
It was built part strong.
It was built strongly. My grandfather or my dad builds it so it would never fall apart. So had to get the sawzall out.
You almost started a fire.
We did not. Cordy says we almost started a fire.
There was smoke.
There almost started a fire. There was smoke.
And charring.
There was smoke because there was that big
there
old
was charring on the wood.
because of that big deck screw that was in there, and the screwdriver wouldn't take it out. So I got the sawzall out.
Serious business.
No, nothing serious at all. So now we gotta clean up the house and work at getting the garage insulated for the winter, and 220 ran out there and all that good stuff. Emptied, yep. Alright, so I'm just doing a little bit of peeking around here to make sure he looks good. I need some white on his little eyebrow up here because we got some brown on it. So you always want to go back and touch anything up. I had hoped to do this before tonight, but I did not have time, so we're just going to do it. You can just see just that little bit of touch-up does make a big difference. So let's see, I think Courtney must have everybody's box sent except the last 3, and then a couple that have orders, extra Bisque that's going in your box, but she has that Bisque today, I believe, all of it, and they should be going out, and she should be reaching out to you shortly, so. And she is behind on messages because she's been boxing and wrapping, and then we spent time at my house today getting that pouring table out, so all that takes time, and then we're an hour's drive one way, so that takes time too. Alright, so we got him touched up, so now I actually going to need another little bowl of that I can put water in for the color wash or our antiquing. So he's just painted out basically.
Do you need a big one or a little?
Just a little one.
With a little water?
Yep, just a little water. I can use my drinking water you brought me. So antiquing used to be very popular probably back in the 70s and 80s, and then dry brushing came along. So a lot of people still like to antique. So that is what we are doing with this project, just to give you guys a feel of what it's about. I think we've done it on other projects last year too, but just kind of another little refresher because we have a lot of new people always. So we're going to, once your piece is painted out, and normally you would probably paint the eyes too, but I'm going to wait to paint the eyes instead of painting them twice. So there used to be products that were called antiquing translucents usually, and a lot of times they had oil in them, and you had to use like mineral spirits to wipe it off your piece. And a lot of those are no longer available, so we basically make our own antiquing solution at this time, and you can do any color that you want. So it really depends what you want as your antiquing thing. The colors before were a lot of times they were wood colors like pecan. I can't think of pecan, walnuts, black. What else? There's Doc Holliday has some, but we can't always get those in. So we just make our own when we're doing it. So basically, my piece is all painted out. and he would be at his done stage as far as how this used to be done, but we're going to actually dry brush it afterwards, because he is going to become, like our yellow and our green, they're going to become a lot duller when you antique. You lose like the true color to your colors, if that, hopefully that makes sense to you, because you're putting another color over it, and even though you're wiping it off, it still dulls it or fades it a little bit. So depending upon what you want to antique with, we're just going to use black. I believed I used black brown actually, because I didn't want it too black. So I have about, I would say, just over a tablespoon of water in here. It all depends how big of a piece you have. And you can always save this to make for another project. And then I'm going to use my Duncan OS 473, my black brown. So you could use black. You could use lighter browns, like for pastel, springy, Eastery things. You might not want such a dark color. You can use like the mocha, or a medium brown. Snowman, you can use blues, purples, turquoise, whatever you want. There's no law. This is just kind of a just one option to it. So Lisa's asking about doing the eyes later. Yes, I'm actually going to do the eyes later, but you can do them now, and I did do them when I did the instructions. I originally did them first, but they got really dark from the antiquing. So I'm actually going to do them after we're done antiquing. So that's why I'm doing that. But you can do it either way. So we have I have just over a tablespoon of water in here, and I'm going to add about that same amount of our black brown, which is OS 473. So I'm just going to squirt that in there. And you can actually measure it if you're not comfortable doing it. And then you can take your palette knife and mix it up. And then you can save this, and usually I just put it into a container, like if you have a baby food jar, just something with a nice screw-on lid that it gets nice and tight. A lot of the antiquing solutions before kind of had a shimmer or a shine to them, and I don't know what was in them to do that, but it's not exactly like an antiquing translucent that you used to be able to get, but this still does the job, and it's basically your color wash. It's the same thing as using your color wash. You could also paint it on straight if you wanted to. I don't care to do it straight. So we have that mixed up. And now, I might need a little more water, Courtney. Okay. You can use a sponge or a piece of cotton fabric. So this is just a t-shirt cut up. This one. And when I'm antiquing, I like to do just about I don't want to do the whole piece and then come back and wipe it. I only want to do about a 3x3 area, just like when we are color washing. Because if we did the whole thing, part of it is going to be really dry and you're not going to be able to wipe it all off. Then I'm just going to take a nice nylon brush, like about a size 8 or a 10. And I'm going to just dip into my antiquing solution that I made, or my color wash, and I'm just going to paint that on there in about that 3x3 area. And you may want to wear gloves for this, because it is kind of a messy job, just like color washing is. So I just kind of do my little 3x3 area, and it don't have to be exact. It can be a little more or a little less. This whole process is very forgiving. So we'll put our brush aside. Then Courtney has a bowl of water here for me. So I'm going to start with the sponge, and if I don't like how the sponge is wiping it off, I may switch to the cotton cloth. So I wring that out really, really well so no more water's coming out. And then I'm just going to wipe as much of this brown off as I wanted. So now I wiped twice and I flipped my sponge over, so you can see now it's wiping more off. And depending how antiqued you want it, is how much you're going to wipe it. So usually at this point I like to then switch to my little cotton, and I just have a little wet area. I strip that over my finger, and now I can wipe and just kind of tap and touch it and get it off where I want it, kind of letting it down in the cracks. So that's kind of how you antique. Just like with the dry brushing, you want to go across any of your crevices. You don't want to go with them too much because then it's going to wipe it out. So this is going this way, so I'm going up and down here. His crotch, between his legs is going up and down, so I go across that. And then I'm also doing my bottom. So now we'll go back and we'll do another 3x3 area here. You're just mixing your paint to water about 50-50, just like kind of with your color wash. So if you have color wash mixed up, you can use your color wash. It's fine. It's just that we're antiquing it. It's after it's been painted and instead of before it's been painted. So Courtney asks if my comments are working. Yes. Let's see. Last one is Lisa says, "Do you do the eyes afterwards?" And I am going to. Huh? Mine aren't updating. Then I have Marianne says hello, and Denise says hello, and Connie says hello. So again, I'm going to go back to my sponge and kind of wipe. And you can rinse out your sponge if there's, like now it's not really taking the paint off, so I can wipe off, rinse it out and wipe off. So now when I was mixing up my paint, I got little spatters on here, so I'm just going to kind of use my fingernail and kind of rub them off gently. You can see it's staying down in the crevices. And then I like to take my cotton cloth and just wipe a little bit more. So you can leave it very dark, or you can leave it lighter. It's really what your personal taste is. But you can see now how much duller the yellow is by putting that antiquing on there, and so that's why we're going to dry brush it a little more when we're done, just to kind of bring that back. So I'm actually going to flip him over now so this doesn't dry on here. So you do have to be watched because it does run from the front to the back, and you don't want to not wipe that because then it'll be dry and you'll have kind of a big solid mess of dark color. So we'll kind of get his face here and his shirt. So I'm probably doing a little bit bigger area just so I can get it all wiped at once so we don't have leftover areas that aren't getting wiped. So it is a messy type of a procedure to do, technique I should say. So you can see it's running now in the back, so you want to make sure you wipe that too. So you kind of do end up going back and forth. Even though we kind of did the back already, we got to make sure we wipe it as it's running. You don't want this to get too dry because then you're not going to be able to wipe it. And now I kind of have my brown kind of built up in my sponge, so I can actually kind of even wipe with the sponge instead of painting with the brush. So Courtney says the comments aren't showing up for us or for her. So I'm actually going to wring that out now. And now I can wipe and get a little more of this off. So you can see it actually gets pretty ugly before it gets nice. So I flipped my sponge over to kind of get new area to kind of wipe some of that black brown off. And now I'm going to go back to my little cotton cloth here. And we're just leaving, you can leave, everybody probably has a different preference if they like it a lot of the darkness or if they like a little bit of the darkness. It's all completely up to you. So I'm just kind of re-wiping that back so it's not splotchy. Oh, okay. So now I'm actually flipped him around so that the color doesn't run down on what we have done. So we'll kind of let it run. You can see it gets onto the table, so you probably want to put brown paper or paper towel down. I meant to bring brown paper from the classroom. I meant to bring brown paper from the classroom and forgot after I seen the raccoon mess.
They were busy.
They were busy every night. It's so sickening.
They even dug up the papers.
Yep, they dug up the stepping stones and flipped them around, and they took this butt can that we have for the cigarette butts with sand in it. That's been tore up, and it's just crazy. So now we're just using that sponge again. You can see as you're wiping, you can get more color back into your, as you're wiping, you get color built up in your sponge. So if you don't want him real bright, you can go back and wipe him once that color is built up in your sponge before you wring it out also. So you can change the color as you're doing it, say you don't like it. So now it's like not really taking it off, so I'm going to actually wring that out so you can see now I'm wiping it off. So this is just antiquing. It's just doing your, kind of like when you did your color wash before you painted, but now we're doing it in the middle of our painting. And when they used to do it, they were usually done. Years ago, you were done when you antiqued it, like that was it. You kind of left it, but now with dry brushing, it's nice to go back and kind of touch it up and bring those true colors back, or the more pure color, so they're not so dark from the antiquing. So I'm just wiping it with this cotton rag. You can see that gets full of your the paint too. And it's probably more dry than damp, the little cotton rag, because I do want to get more of it off. I don't want him real dark. So I'm just leaving it down in all the little crevices. And if it's not even, so like now it's kind of blotchy here, I'm just going to go back and put a little more on. And then I can wipe with my sponge, and then I'm just going to come back and wipe with the dirty area in my cotton cloth, which is just a t-shirt cut up. Kind of strip that over my finger so it's nice and smooth without wrinkles in it, and now I can kind of wipe this and get it just a little bit darker. So that's all there is to antiquing. So it used to be that they would just seal it then after this, and you were done usually, but now we're actually going to dry brush over the top of it to just make it more colorful, because you can see this is really dull now compared to when we started. And I can actually show you the one now. So this guy on my right, the finished guy, he's been dry brushed to bring the brightness back to the colors, but he still has our antiquing down in our crevices. So that's just another way of adding your shading by antiquing your piece. This was very, very popular in the past, but it's kind of went by the wayside, probably more than not. All right, so now we got to clean up our mess here. So that's antiquing, and again, I just use the paint mixture of about a tablespoon of black brown and a tablespoon of water. And then you can save that and use that for color washing or antiquing later for another project. And we'll kind of wipe this up. And then you can see your hands get pretty ugly too when you do that. So there we go. We got him all antiqued. So that's all there is to antiquing. It's nothing fancy, nothing hard. So our next number is, we're going to now we're going to go back and brighten all these colors up, but we'll let our antiquing down in our crevices. So we're going to dry brush our medium green onto our shoes. And let's see, so I got a little bit of medium green, we'll get a little bit more. And we're going to use about a size, not too big, but I have a size 5, so go in my medium green, brush that out on my paper towel, and then we're going to go to just our standard dry brushing just to kind of highlight this a little bit more. And it'll kind of bring our brightness back that we kind of lost of our true color when we antiqued it. And if you don't want to do that, you can just seal it and then you're done also. But I kind of like that the brightness to kind of highlight it. And we'll just work our way around just like we did with like we usually do with our dry brushing. Start in one area. So I started on the front. I'll work around the back and then back to the front, and then the side will be dry, and then if we need a little more, we can come back and put a little more on. And then always do your bottoms as well so they look nice. So I'm just so at this point we're just dry brushing. They used to not do this that I know of, like in the 80s when you antiqued it, you were just done and you sprayed your sealer on it or painted your sealer on and they left it. But I do like to highlight it, and I think if you follow a lot of the Clay Magic instructions, they also do a lot of dry brushing after it's been antiqued. So it's just another way to do things. There's tons of ways to do everything with ceramics. There's like no law that this is the only way anything can be done. You could even paint like your stroking coats or your I gotta think what the other one is. Your Duncan Concepts on here, and then that's another way to do it. Then it would have to be fired again though. That's the only thing. And like our classes are really based on people that don't have access to kilns. So we're usually doing the non-fired techniques, but you could do fired stuff on these guys by using the Bisque underglaze they call it, but really they're not underglazes because they have glass frit in them, and they're more of a glaze to me. Where the underglazes have it's more of a clay with color in it. And that's usually put on the greenware, and of course we don't ship greenware because that would break in shipping. So.
Brenda asked, "What are you using?" But those are few minutes ago.
So right now I'm using maybe I didn't tell you guys, the OS463 medium green, our Duncan Bisque stain, which is an opaque acrylic. Before when we were antiquing, we made a color wash or an antiquing solution using our black brown with the 50-50 water to black brown ratio, so about a tablespoon of each, and then we painted it on in little areas and then wiped it off with our sponge and then our cotton rag. So Cordy says we have a few more questions. So now I did make my way around from the back. And I'll probably go one more time around just to highlight it just a little bit more. So what's the first question?
Lisa asked if she has old antiquing, is it still safe to use?
So we have a question, if you have old antiquing, is it safe to use? It should be. As long as it's not dried out, you should be able to use it. You may need to use mineral spirits to wipe it off instead of the water.
I was wondering if it was toxic.
So you're wondering if it's toxic? I don't think those were usually toxic. They're not safe for drinking. I mean, those are not good for. They're not. It's not a food safe thing. So I guess in that aspect, it's probably, you could say it's toxic. You wouldn't use it on a food product like a plate or a cup or a glass or any type of dish. You wouldn't use the antiquing. Although you can do that process on other pieces, you can antique with underglazes. After you paint your say you had a piece of greenware and you painted your underglazes on it and then you fired it, you can antique with underglaze by painting that on and then wiping it off just like we did with this, and then you would let it dry really good, and then you could put a clear glaze over it, and then it could be fired again, and then that would be a food safe way of doing it, but you would still be antiquing just using underglaze.
Why did they discontinue it?
Why did they discontinue it? I can't really answer that. There's been so many products that have been discontinued over the years. A lot of it's probably because the ceramic industry lost a lot of interest. like 15 years ago. Like there's Gear used to have all kinds of paints. Doc Holliday had all kinds of paints. Kimple had all kinds of paints. Ceramichrome had all kinds of paints. Many of the companies all had their own brands of paints. And as ceramics faded out, those we've lost all those things, or a lot of those things. Even if you look at like Mako, they probably had. I just looked at one of the old Mako books, and I can't even remember how many I counted of like the softy colors that there were. Probably like 100, and now there's, I don't know, is there like 36 or something? So they've all just everyone's cut back in the production of everything. So we've just lost a lot of products over the years. So let's see. Deb says, when I first started, my teacher always had us antique our pieces, and we didn't like how dark they came out. She would seal it right after we antiqued it too. Yep, that's what I was saying. That's what they used to do. As soon as it was antiqued, you would spray it with a sealer. But this is just and you could have done that with this guy too if you were happy with that. But like, I think we can make him better because we've learned new techniques over the years. Let's see. So Nina says, so can you use glaze on top of regular paint and refire?
I don't think so.
You cannot use glaze on top of your acrylic paints and refire it, because that would burn this out. The acrylics will burn out, but you can use glaze over the top of underglazes. Your stroking coats, if you're only using like one coat of that. If you have 3 coats of the stroking coats, you don't need to put glaze over the top. So it really depends what product you're using. But you cannot put glaze over the top of the acrylics. The acrylics are going to burn away. So hopefully that answers that. If that wasn't what you meant, I guess type in another question a different way. So we're using acrylics, and these are non-fired paints. If you painted something real, let's say you didn't like this and you had 3 or 4 coats of this on it and it was really getting rough, you could actually put this piece in the kiln, and it would fire, and it would fire off most of the paint, although the bisque may be stained a little bit, and then you can paint it over again. But any acrylics are basically going to burn off in the kiln. So let's see. Any luck in getting the short-handled dry brushes? Courtney's talking to our supplier about the short-handled brushes next week. And the brushes that are going in the box. So Bridget says she always dry brushed after antiquing. Okay, that's good. I mean, like, so as I can say, there's tons of ways to do anything. There's no saying that you have to do these like this. So if you were at a shop close to you and you could get these guys in greenware, you could actually clean them, paint them up with underglazes, and then they could be fired. Then you could antique them with the brown underglaze, and then you could let it dry, and then you could put your clear glaze over the top and fire it again. That's just one way of doing it too. You could clean them and fire them, paint them with the stroking coats. If you had 1 coat, you're going to be able to see through it. If you have 3 coats, then it's a solid coverage. But if you have only 1 coat, you have to put a glaze over it, a clear glaze over it, and then they would get fired again. There's just a ton of ways. Like, you could even make these look like copper statues. You could paint them after they're fired. You could do our rub-on metallics that we did last year, paint it black, and then take your copper and rub it over the whole thing and rub it off. So the black is just down in the crevice, and he would look like he's made out of copper. So there's just tons of ways to do everything. There's like no one way to do anything when it comes to ceramic stuff. So we have our green on there, so now we kind of got those guys brought back to life. So now we're going to dry brush a little lime burst on there just to give it a little bit more brightness. And our lime burst is Mako SS376, and their product is called Softies Acrylics. And again, it's just a acrylic stain that's water-based, meaning you can clean it up with water. So the different companies do call their paints different things. So this is a Softy acrylic, where Duncan calls theirs a Bisque stain, but really it's a water-based acrylic paint. So where I'm going to use my same dirty brush, and I'm going to dip into my lime burst, which was again SS376. Brush that out a few times. And now we can highlight our little shoes here, so you can just add a little more color to them. It gives it more depth, more layers of color, just makes it more interesting. So you can see how different that would look than if we just had sealed it when we were finished antiquing it. Like his little slippers are kind of coming to life here now because we're just adding more highlighting on the edges and kind of on the top here, and letting our black brown down in our crevices. Just another way of doing it. I actually prefer the dry brushing, and then I kind of have the dry brushing gives you the color, the shading color down in the crevices right off the bat.
Those terracotta is one of her favorite finishes for that.
Oh, the terracotta, okay. Yeah, so there's just tons of things you can do. Like, don't think anything is the only way to do it. We do basically go with the non-fire techniques, just because when we started shipping the boxes, it was because a lot of people were commenting they didn't have access to a local shop. So now I'm brushing that out because that's really wet looking, and when you're dry brushing it, you don't want that much color to go on at one time. So you can see it's going on a lot softer and less right now, and that's really how you want it to go on. And then I started in the front, and I'm just working my way back around to the front because the front has now dried while we were talking away there. And we'll kind of get the top of his shoe here a little bit brighter than the sides, because when you think about it, like the light would be hitting the top of the shoe and these edges of his little fringe of those boots, so those are going to have a little bit more of the line burst on it. So you want to think about that when you're putting your colors on, like we're doing a highlighting color now, so it's kind of like where the light would be hitting it. So if you have trouble figuring that out, you can get yourself a flashlight, shut the light off, and hold your flashlight, and you can see where the light would be hitting it the strongest, and that's where you would want to put your highlighting color. So I'm basically just putting it on top because as this shoe is curved, there's less light that's going to hit it, so it's not going to be as bright as the top or the edges on the boot going around the top edge here. And then I do like to use usually like 3 shades of color, but we had our medium green, which is our medium color. We had our lime burst, which is our light color, and really our black brown that kind of dulled it is our darker color. So we're just working our way around, just giving those a nice little layer of lime burst, but still leaving our medium green, and just getting our lime burst on the high areas, which is across the top of his foot and across the top of these little ruffles on his shoes. So that's looking pretty good. And I do get a little bit going down the side and the front, but not a whole lot. There's more on top than on the sides, just because that's where the light would be hitting it more. So those shoes look pretty good now. So onto there we go, add a touch of pale yellow. I did add a touch of pale yellow just to lighten them up just a tad more. So we have our Duncan OS433 pale yellow, Duncan OS433 pale yellow. So Clara says she never thought to antique after dry brushing. No, I mean there's tons of ways. Everybody's got their own whatever they prefer. So I have enough pale yellow there for a week. So I'm actually going to use my same dirty brush, and you'll see I do that a lot. That gives me a nice gradual change of color from my lime burst to my pale yellow, and it won't be just such a pale yellow right off the bat. So I brush that out good on there and work it in. And now I'm going to get just the very edge and the very top of this shoe, just a little bit of pale yellows, just that like the light is really hitting that. Just barely touching it, and it's just adding just a little bit of lightness right across the top. And we'll work our way around. So like don't ever think that, well, that's the way Brenda did it, that's the only way to do it. Nope, that's not the case. There's tons of ways to do it, and everybody kind of has their own way of doing it and what they like to do and what colors they like to use, and just be open-minded and you can learn a lot. Try things. Don't be afraid to try it. You can always paint it black and start over. So I'm just doing the top of his shoe now with our pale yellow here, just to give a little bit more brightness to it, like the sun's really shining on him. And pretty much just the top of the shoe, and then that top edge of those cuff of those boots. No, he's got lots of nice color. He's not just plain old medium green and kind of boring. He's got medium green, and he's got lime burst, and he's got the pale yellow, and he's got the black brown down in the crevice, so he's got lots of nice shading. So I think that's pretty much good, and I'm going to take a drink, excuse me. Okay, so our next number is, we're going to dry brush his shirt with gold and then pale yellow. So gold was our new color this month. And Mary says she just opened her Bisque box and they are so cute. Yep, the little frog and the turtle is really cute. Or not the turtle, the snail and the turtle is really cute. And so are the little extra guys that go with them, if anybody of you got those. And I'm going to let the molds dry a couple days, and then I'll be able to pour more. Some more, if anyone wants them, they could go in their next box maybe, just by messaging Courtney. So we have gold OS 436, gold OS 436. So we're going to get some of that. And then I'm actually going to switch brushes because we have green in that brush, but I usually just lay that brush aside in case I need it again. And since we're starting with kind of a new color, we're going to grab a new brush here. And of course I usually got to dig, and it's like, oh, which one? And they all seem too big. We'll go with this little one because we got little areas to get in. So I think this is probably a size 3, and it's a round. You could use a round or flat. So I'm going to dip into my gold, brush it out onto my paper towel. And I usually do that a couple times when I first start. It kind of works that paint up in there. So now we just want to be kind of careful and dry brush the gold part of his shirt again. And like I have little smeary lines with my black brown from our antiquing, like that'll actually kind of clean that up and make that look more even as well, and kind of just let that black brown down in those crevices. And again, I'm going to start in one area and work my way around. It's okay if we get it on his little orange belt, we're going to touch that up. And then I want to come underneath here too and get a little bit, just so we have a nice even coverage under there too. So you do have to change your piece around and move it in different directions so you can get to those areas. Like now I'm standing him on his head, so I can get down in here on the underside of his coat and kind of work that gold into there. And we'll just work, so that's really wet again, so I got it too wet, so I brushed my brush out, and now I'm going to come back and try to brush out that big wet area. When I'm talking, I kind of lose track of what I'm brushing out, and that does happen. So we're just going to work our way around his little jacket here. Get some nice bright gold on there. So now you can really see how much brighter this area looks compared to this area. So that's what the antiquing did. It dulls your color. You can see this is more of a brighter, because that's our true gold color, but the antiquing dulls it. So that's why I like to go back and dry brush over the top of antiquing. But it really depends upon the piece too. If you want like an old raggedy looking truck, or you want your piece to have that old antiquing look, that's used, beat up look, then you wouldn't have to go back and dry brush the bright color back over it. So it really depends what you want in the end. But we're gonna make him look nice and fresh and do some dry brushing of our gold back over our antiqued gold. So now our antiqued gold is acting as our dark color, our gold, is acting as our medium color, and then our pale yellow is going to act as our light color. So I usually like to use 3 colors. You guys have probably noticed that when we're doing our projects. I generally like to use 3 shades, a dark, a medium, and a light. You don't want all your colors to be the same tone of color. You want that value of the dark, then the medium, light, because that just gives your piece more life and it's more interesting. So I'm just brushing really gently. I'm not making big strokes, so I get this gold all over. I'm just kind of adding a little bit, just being gentle about it, working my way back around. And it just kind of cleans up that antiquing so it's not so messy too. Like here I have different shades of the black brown under there, so it kind of depending if it ran and you didn't get it wiped, you'll have that. But going back and dry brushing it, you can kind of touch that back up too. And then I'm also focusing on getting the edge of the coat with more of the gold on it, and then less as I get away from it, because this edge is going to have more light, and as you get where it's under his little belly here, that's going to be darker because there's not going to be as much light shining on that. So that's another thing I'm looking at as I'm dry brushing. I'm not dry brushing the whole coat the same color of gold. I have more gold on the edge, and then less as we get away from the edge, and even less as we get on the underside here, because there would be no light shining underneath there directly. So it would be darker under there too. Who doesn't like antiquing? Linda didn't like antiquing. Yeah, it's not my favorite thing to do anymore. I mean, that's what we did in the 80s, but it's got its time and place, just like anything, I guess. I mean, they turned out really cute, even though they're antiqued, and a lot of people have asked about antiquing and how do you do it and what is it, and so that's why we're just doing it again, just to show you that it's just another way of painting your pieces, really. So again, that's a lot of gold on there. I got to brush that out, and now I got to kind of even that out. See, get off of there. I have a little stray hair there that don't want to cooperate. And we'll come back up here and get his little, that area worked up. So again, you can see how much darker that arm is compared to this area where we've dry brushed. So that's what the antiquing has done. The antiquing really kind of dulls that original true color. So if you want that back, you have to come back and dry brush over it. So now we're going to actually dry brush on his arm here and lighten that up. Again, I'm going to have the edge brighter because the light's going to hit that more. So we have a question, what's the average time I spend on a piece? Oh, that really depends. Nothing's fast. The only one of the fastest techniques, I guess, is if you're you do those rub-on metallics, like I'd like to do the angels and paint them black and then rub on either copper or silver or gold. That's a pretty quick project if you're looking for something quickish, and then it has a really nice look to it when it's done. Nativity sets, I like to glaze those with it used to be called Danish blue, but I don't even know if they make that anymore. But you would clean your piece, your nativity set, fire it, and then paint that Danish blue on it, and then fire it again, and it kind of had a blue hue in the crevices. That's the one you have, Courtney, the one you have from Grandma, that I made Grandma. That's what that is. So that's a pretty quick technique. I mean, but it's still good. Like a nativity set has usually like 15 to 17 pieces, so that's still going to take you considerable time to glaze it, even though you're glazing it. If you're dry brushing it, you're probably going to have 100 hours in it versus maybe 10 hours with glazing. I can't really say that. I mean, ceramics is not a fast thing. It's a slow thing. Probably hours wise. So we could probably look at, like, we usually have 3 pieces in a box for the month, and we have so we do it usually from 7 to 8:30 to probably 3 to 4 hours for a piece like this to get it done. But usually the first piece also takes longer for as far as picking out the colors and getting it to look right. Then once that first piece is created and you do the duplicate of the next one, it goes a lot faster. It's probably an extra hour, hour and a half just doing that first piece, getting the colors right for you guys. And then my family and a couple friends do some critiquing, and we get their opinions in, and then there's probably some changes done again. So like making the samples is not a fast process. It's actually probably 3 to 4 days to get the samples ready for the boxes. But then once we get to doing our painting lives, it's pretty quick because it's all already figured out, and I'm not figuring out, oh, what color should I do next, and what color should I highlight with, and does this color go with that color, and does this piece go with that piece, and a lot of time goes into creating the samples actually. Those like the bundle up snowmen, like I've done those for craft shows, and I can probably do one of those in 2.5 to 3 hours, but I've done hundreds and hundreds of them, and I know which color combinations I like where, and I can whip them out pretty quick. So it all depends. And like if you sit down and you're doing a brand new snowman you haven't done before, it's going to take a little more time just because you have to figure out what colors are going where, and does that look right, and all that good old stuff. So we're just dry brushing our gold on our little coat here, and again you can see that just makes that true color more rich, where with the antiquing on it, it's dulled. So that's my reason why I usually don't antique too much anymore. But like we said, back in the 80s and probably the 70s, it was a huge all the time thing. Underglazing was also really popular there. When I started, that's mostly what I did was underglazing and glazing, where now it's more dry brushing than anything. And we've been doing glazing at the classroom. They actually have one lady glazing Christmas trees. She's doing 9 of them. I have 2 other ladies glazing vases for Christmas presents. They're working on Christmas already, so that's pretty cool. And the fact that they're doing glazes too, so they kind of like the glazes because they are quicker versus the dry brushing. They're not real big dry brush fans. So it kind of depends upon the person too and what they like to do. Even glazing can take time though, because I did a couple projects here on Tuesday when I was at the classroom for some possible classes, and it took all day to get I think like 4 projects done. I actually did the cobblestone technique that Michael Harbridge did a couple weeks ago, so if you guys want to check out that, he's got some good videos for different projects to do. So that took a coat it took black, and then it took the cobblestone, and then it took the stroking coat, so that was still kind of an all-day process. It wasn't nothing fast about it. And then you decide which colors you're going to use, and so it's not fast. Usually the second and third ones of the same piece will get faster, just because you know what you're doing, and you can do more. You can actually do, if you're doing like a little production line, and like base coat all your snowmen one color and then do all their hats, and so it kind of depends how you work at it. Okay, so we have our gold all the way around here. It's looking pretty good. We have it's kind of highlighted more on the edge than closer to the deep areas. And from our gold, we're going to add, let's see, what do I got on here? Curry over the top of that to bring our gold out. Oh, nope, got to go back up. So we did our gold, and then we have to do some pale yellow first. So it took a few colors to get his shirt the color that it is. So now we have pale yellow, OS433, and actually I have more than enough pale yellow on my little thing here. So I'm going to use my same dirty brush, get some new paper towel, and brush that out. Because we're in the same color family, of the yellows, I just use the same brush. So now I just want to highlight our edges here a little bit, and our little high areas. So like his little belly is sticking out here, so that's going to be a little bit brighter because the light's going to hit that a little bit. on the center part. Then his little cuff here on the end, that's going to be a little bit lighter. And then kind of through the high center part of his sleeve, that's going to be lighter because the light's going to hit that. But as the light goes away from the center, it's going to be darker. So we'll let our gold kind of fade out there and have the pale yellow stronger through the center. And we'll kind of work our way around the bottom here. I'll have more on the edge, and where there's little high areas, that'll have a little bit more on it too, because that'll be having more light to it, hitting it. And we'll just work our way right around. Let's see. Here Ann says we're having a big ceramic show beginning of August, and Michael's coming there. Oh, cool, good. You get to meet him. Hopefully you've met him before. You'll take one of his classes if you get to, because he does classes usually at those shows, kind of make and take things. You won't be sorry because he's a great instructor. And then we also have a show coming in August here by us too. Well, it's like 3 hours away, but it's in Waukesha, Wisconsin. So we'll be going down to that on that Friday too. I think it's the 20th and the 21st. I know he does retreats too, where people fly in and drive in. I think he just had one of those back in May, and I think he's got a couple more scheduled, so that's another opportunity to take classes from someone. He's also on every other Wednesday night on Facebook doing live, so you can follow him on there too and watch those. Paula McCoy is also on. And I forget if it's Mondays or Tuesdays. I think that's Tuesdays. Mako does a few, they do Tip Tuesday, and then they do a few other classes too. They're going to have one, it's kind of more for the business owners, but I think when you can sign up, it doesn't say you can't. They're doing one on Stroke and Coat the end of June, and I've signed up for that one. I had done one earlier with them, and it was on the vases with the jungle gems, and that was really informative too. So I got to brush my pale yellow out here. That was getting a little too thick, and then we're just working our way back around to the front. Paula McCoy did lose her husband, so there's been a GoFundMe created for her, so if anyone's able to help, because it's been a hard year for ceramic people not being able to be out and giving their normal classes and going to shows and things. Courtney's going to put the link for that. We're going to be donating later tonight to help pay for funeral and hospital expenses. So if anyone else can help out, I'm sure she'd greatly appreciate it. Let's say the David Huff that started that GoFundMe, he does classes too. I think those are usually at the shops though. So I haven't been able, although I think there's some Zoom classes I've seen lately that he might be doing. So it's kind of, classes have kind of changed a lot with COVID, so it's kind of been good for us because now are more things online than there used to be because people can't do them in person. So it's probably brought a lot of education to you guys if you're just kind of follow along and make note that it's out there and put it on your calendar. And I mean, like our classes are really based on our subscriber boxes. But anybody can watch them and they're free, so we don't charge for them. And then they're saved also on our video tab, and then Courtney has some of them on YouTube if we didn't have audio trouble or something with Facebook, because we've had a lot of Facebook issues.
Way back in the day.
And then of course we just started too, so those aren't as good as maybe they are now.
The older ones are.
So it's been a learning curve for us as well. It's not something I did. I did medical transcription all my life. I did painting, but I didn't paint for people live like we are now. So that's a whole different can of worms. Or even teaching people at the classroom. That's a whole different, it's different. It's different than sitting and typing all day. So, but it's been a lot of fun. So we're working our way around. We can see we have a nice, we have our pale yellow on here now, and then it fades to our gold. So we have that on, and now we're going to dry brush a little bit of curry over the top of that yet, just to kind of bring our gold back out a little bit. So we have curry OS 571. So let's see, who is Michael? So Michael Harbridge is the gentleman's name. Courtney will put a link to. And again, I'm using my dirty brush with the yellow, but we're still in that gold family. His business is Learned Fired Arts, and he does a lot of fired products, or a lot of fired techniques. Does lots of raku, and he uses stamps and clay puzzling, and it's a lot of freeform type stuff with the clay and things versus our ceramics where we're pouring with the molds and creating it. So he does classes every other Wednesday at 7 Central Time too, and it's on his page, Michael Harbridge, but his videos, I believe, are saved to his Learned Fired Arts page, or his YouTube page under that name. So I'm just dry brushing my curry on top of here. Right over the top of the pale yellow, because it just kind of brightens it a little bit more. And Michael traveled to like the different trade shows, and you could go. He has a booth there, and you can do like make and takes. Whatever his projects are for the year, he'll have something special for the shows.
If you go to a show, there's a lot of artists.
If you can go to a show that's close to you, you don't have to be a business owner to go, but if you go, you'll find that there are other people there giving classes. It's a great opportunity to see other processes of things or other techniques of things, because there are other artists at those trade shows usually. There's usually like an admission fee of $5, but you can walk around and look at everything. And so we're just working our way around here with our gold on top of our pale yellow. So a lot of those shows were actually canceled last year, but they're working their way back slowly. Like I'm trying to think, there was just one somewheres, wasn't there, or is it coming? Like I think Florida, Georgia. I'm not 100% sure. I'm kind of got a mind blank on that. Maybe San Antonio. I think the Ohio one, which is a pretty big one from what I can tell, is back. The spring one was canceled, but the fall one I believe is back on. So it's just a great opportunity to go and meet other artists and businesses and the mold companies and the brush companies. The shows are a lot smaller than they used to be. They used to be really huge, but as ceramics kind of dwindled away over the years, it's become less and less, but it's kind of making a little comeback. So people have the interest in it again, and I'm just dry brushing our curry over the top here. And we're going to bring it around underneath the bottom just a little bit. So we're getting there. Paula McCoy does her classes on Tuesdays, and she is also the owner of Colors for Earth Colors. It's a paint company for ceramics and for glass, so she does different techniques on there, so you can watch. It's great to watch her. She does a lot of brush stroke work, meaning like she's painting leaves and blending colors, and it's just a great learning tool to watch all those different things. Okay, so we're getting our gold on here. So next we have dry brush his beard and hair with gray and then white. So we need some gray. Oh, I don't have any gray pulled, Courtney. So I have gray. Okay. So we have OS474 gray. It's our Duncan OS474 gray, and we're going to give that a little shake. Gray, ash, and medium blue have been colors we've had.
I have gray.
Oh, you have gray? So
Regular
charcoal and
gray,
ash.
Charcoal and ash.
Charcoal and ash and medium blue we've had trouble getting. So I am going to switch to a new brush because we have a new color we're switching to. And I think we need some more 3s in this bucket here. But I already went through 2 of them. Takes a lot of brushes when you're painting. Maybe this is a 3 here. I'll use this flat 3. So I have a flat 3 I'm going to use. So we're going to go into our gray, brush it out a little bit. And now I want to brush across his little beard hairs here. I don't want to go with them. And that'll kind of clean up his beard because it's got a lot of brown in it, but I really just want the brown down in the crevices. And I'm just using a little brush so I'm not brushing all over. So let's see. Lots of bisque and supplies. Yep, there's lots of bisque. There's people selling bisque too at those shows. So maybe your local shop, or if you don't have a local shop, there's other bisque sellers there, so you can find bisque that may not be available at your local shop. So that's kind of nice to go and shop for that too. They used to have like a lot of porcelain doll stuff and a lot of porcelain stuff too, but that stuff's kind of faded out too, so you don't really see too much of that. They would be there with the hair or the wigs and the clothes and just tons of stuff. But you know, unfortunately, ceramics kind of died out, and I'm sure some of it'll never come back, but some of it's slowly coming back. So we're just brushing back and forth here with our 3 flat, bringing our beard back to a nice bright color. Just letting our brown down in our crevices. Get his little eyebrows here. So it's supposed to be hot here through next week yet, so I don't know. Usually we're having like August weather instead of June weather. So I'm kind of sick of it myself. A lot of the lawns look really brown already, just like August. A lot of the flowers aren't lasting very long, like the peonies and the irises, a couple days and they're all done. So we're just dry brushing our gray over the top of our hair. Grabbing a little bit, brushing it out, brush back and forth. Going across those textures so we don't fill it in, and we're leaving our dark brown down in those crevices. And now we'll come back to the front again. And we want a nice even coat of the gray. You don't want to be able to see through it. So that's usually where I'm telling them a little bit more. And they hear that every time we have open class. So along with our molds that they're sending for the box, our big eagle is coming as well. They did get that poured too, so I know Pam will be happy to hear that. So she's been waiting for that little feller. Well, he's not little, he's big. It's a big eagle. It's the Doc Holliday eagle with the spruce tree. Okay, so we got his beard looking pretty good. So from there, we're going to go to white, OS 431. We will try to finish up this box next week so we can get back on track with our next box, and then our snail and snail and turtle will go pretty quick. Even though it looks like there's a lot of work with them, they go pretty quick. So I just used my same dirty brush that had the gray in it, and now I'm going to kind of highlight it with the white. Or if you want to have a gray beard, you can let his beard gray. Really depends what you want. You could have reddish, orange, whatever you like. There's no rules. We're just going to go back and forth across all the little textures here. All those little hair curlies. He's kind of got a Santa Claus beard. These guys are, they're cute. They're a lot of fun. They're one of their older molds, but they're, it's kind of nice to have the gnomes with the face instead of all of the gnomes without faces. Just brushing back and forth. Oh, we had a wedding on Saturday, which was really nice. But it was hot, yeah. The best thing is that it was at a, it was a barn wedding, which is really popular around here right now. The kind of the family farms have died, and a few of them have changed remodeled their barns into like venues for weddings. So that's what it was. So we were actually lucky. They had real flushing bathrooms. A lot of times they just have the porta potties. So it was nice to have real bathrooms. That was one thing I was surprised. They had been turned into a Christmas tree farm as well, so there was lots of Christmas trees planted in the fields instead of the corn and crops. And then they had lots of little vignette areas where you could sit and kind of talk, and kind of little private areas for families. And we were lucky they had just remodeled finished the bottom part where the cows and the stanchions were, and they made that, it was air conditioned, so we were actually really lucky. It wasn't cold, but it was comfortable, and it wasn't 95 like it was outside. So we're just going to get a little more white on here. And again, I used my same brush because the gray just went right to the white. And I usually like to make a wedding gift, but I didn't have time, so I actually gave money instead of making something. Nope. So we're just dry brushing his hair and his beard here with the white, just kind of letting that brown down in the crevices. Make sure you get his little eyebrows up here. And of course the GPS took me home a different way than what I went, and completely missed one city, Wausau. I didn't even go through. It brought me out in the next town. So at least it wasn't dark out. We left before it was dark, so. So now you can make his little beard whiter if you want, or you can leave it darker. It's totally up to you. We're just going to kind of get it kind of where it's at. I'm kind of liking it. Let's see, do we have any questions going on? How hot is it there? Oh, it's been in the 90s, Marianne. It's been terrible. We usually have 2 or 3 days or a week of that in August, and that's it. And we've had it this is the second week, and it's going to be next week as well. So it's awful. We're not used to the hot like that, especially in June. Maybe in August, but not in June. We're going to get a little more white on his hair here. So he's coming together. Let's see, been hot in Ohio too. So Norma asked if you're going to put this outside, what spray would you use? You can use any of your aerosol sealers, or you can use your brush-on sealers as well. Just bring it in for the winter. When it's freezing and thawing out, that's what the ceramic stuff don't like. You can also take the Thompson's water sealer for clay and tile and pour it on the inside, and then dump it back out, and that'll help as well. And then you just want to redo that every couple of years. Same with your sealer on your outside. Just reseal it every couple of years. There used to be, like Gare had a Weatherall, it was called Weatherall. It actually put like a clear rubber coating on it, and we really like that, but they don't make that anymore either. So you just use your aerosol sealer or your brush-on sealer that your Duncan makes, and Some people do use the Walmart brand stuff, but you're going to want something that's a UV protectant that's not going to yellow. So you do have to be careful with if you're buying something like that. You want to make sure it isn't going to yellow. A sealer that won't yellow. Okay, so we have his little beard all done. And Courtney brought me some more brushes. And now we are going to dry brush ivory on our mushroom. So let's see, we got some ivory. What time are we looking at? I know I got to show them some things again, huh? 8:20. Well, Susan had 90s too. Yeah, the weather is crazy. So we have our ivory OS 432 ivory. So we'll just do our mushroom a little bit, and then we won't have a whole lot left for next week, and we'll be able to finish him up and go right onto the mushroom. So I'm using my same white brush because it's kind of the same family. And now I just want to dry brush my... So I have too much paint, it's going on too thick, that's why I keep going back to my paper towel. I don't want it to go on that heavy right off the bat. So we're just going to dry brush our mushroom now with the ivory, or if you like it more dirty looking or more brown looking, just make it how you like it, whatever color you like. But we're going to brighten it up with some ivory. I'm just brushing across all the little zigzaggies that are in there. Brushing kind of light here by his ears so I don't get ivory all over his ears. And then we'll flip him over and get the bottom part here. Brush that out really good and get the rest of our stem. Let's see, we've been working with the red squirrels at the classroom as well. They trimmed some trees to try to get rid of those. But they've also been a little bit of a challenge. But when you're out in the country, you got critters. There's not a whole lot you can do about it.
And you got a woodchuck.
Oh, and we have a woodchuck out there too. But he doesn't really bother anybody.
Barrels across the yard.
Barrels across the yard, yep. So we're going to do our mushroom cap here and underneath our mushroom. So you can see, even though it's antique, going back and dry brushing it just kind of brightens those colors back up. And I kind of like that brightness instead of that dullness. So hopefully our palettes arrive tomorrow, and I will have our July molds so we can get those poured and samples painted so you guys can see those. So our July box is Christmas in July. So they are Christmas ornaments, something we haven't done before. As far as Christmas ornaments, we haven't done. So we're doing Christmas ornaments for July. And then everyone likes snowmen, so they're a girl snowman and a boy snowman. So you'll hopefully get to see those. I don't know if it'll be next Thursday or not. We'll have to see. That's going to be pushing it because the molds are probably going to be wet. But probably the next week I'll be able to have them, because I'm not even sure that they're coming tomorrow. I'm hoping he calls that they're here, because they did ship yesterday, or was it the day before?
Yeah.
Yesterday they actually shipped. And those are coming from Kansas, from Evans Ceramic Supply. So they do have our Starlight molds. They have the Duncan Masters, the Encioto, and Donna's. And there's a couple others too, but we also get our clay for our slip from them. So that's why we're getting our July molds from them. So that's great. We're also going to be getting our September molds, which will be our Halloween molds, will also be coming from them. So it's great to be able to get other molds too, and even though they're older molds, or not new releases, they are brand new molds, because they do have the masters and they make brand new molds for us. So that's a great, if you guys like the Donna's molds and you're wondering how to get them, you can go to Starlight Molds, and they have the molds. They also have some of the older Doc Holliday molds. They have quite a selection that you can get from them, that they do make brand new molds. Even though they're not new releases, they're still brand new molds. So we're waiting for those to come. And hopefully that's tomorrow. So I'm just getting our ivory on our mushroom cap here and kind of brightening that up. Still pouring some more of the frogs and praying mantis and what's the other thing? The worm. I'll probably let the molds sit here this weekend, but if anybody wants those for your extras in your box, you could probably fit a couple of them in there because the ornaments are a little bit smaller as far as taking up space with all the air bubbles and stuff. I think some of the extras we're going to have will be some of the Christmas truck inserts. I've been pouring them, so I'll try to get those cleaned and fired so you can see some of those. And then we'll probably pick out a couple other pieces too that you can pick from. Let's see what else. Oh, on June 24th, after our live, we are going to have a little bit of a early 4th of July sale celebration. Cordy has some things that she wants to get off the shelves. We'll go over that in a minute as soon as I finish the ivory here. And then I did put ivory on, a little bit of ivory on his face and hands, so we'll probably do that next time so we can go over this other stuff. So after our show on the 24th, we'll have like a 4th of July party in the Bisque box group.
Anybody can join.
Anybody can join. If you're a Bisque boxer, your stuff would ship in your Bisque box, unless it's a lot of stuff, then you get that $9.99 shipping. So I think we're going to quit with our little guy at this point. We'll do our hands and face next week. Then we just have his hat and his belt to do, and then his eyes, and then he'll be done, and then we can move on to our mushroom, and that'll go really quick. So we should finish this next week. So our little 4th of July party will be the June 24th after our painting. Yeah. So this is our pieces that are for our June box that we just shipped, and some of you did mention that you got those today or yesterday. So we have our snail and our turtle, and we're going to do some dotting on these. So like on their faces, I did the black first, different size, and we'll have a dowel in your box to do that with, and then we use this ball styluses that you guys got in your boxes earlier, or you can use the end of your paintbrushes for different sizes. But I did, for the face, I did the black first, let that dry really well, and then I took the dowel that's included in the box, and you put your paint, dip your paint in two colors. You look kind of one side in green and one side in yellow, and then you touch down on your piece, and then you turn it a little bit, and that's what gives us our swirling of our colors. So here on the shell, I didn't use black, I just used our orange and yellow, and then I did solid orange dots and solid yellow dots, big ones and little ones. It's very random and very easy. On our turtle, we did a little band of purple and blue, and then we did orange and green, and we had solid ones, green and solid orange, and little ones and big ones. Painted their little toenails, but it's very easy, and we'll go over how to do those dots. Cordy's going to have us do a video just for that, so she can put that in the Bisque box group, I think. Then if you wanted, we had a limited amount of these extras that you could add. So we have the praying mantis, and I did him with the turquoise and blue and yellow. He's got some lines and dots on the back, and they are dry brushed a little bit too, but not a lot. Then we have our frog. He's yellow and green. And then we had our worm, and he was a little bit more limited than the rest because I forgot I had him. But you could add these guys for your next box. You can just message Courtney, and she can add them to your invoice, because I will let the molds dry here this weekend, and then I'll be able to start pouring them again, and that's for the praying mantis, the frog, and the worm. And then they were sprayed with a gloss sealer, so that's why they're nice and shiny. He's got a little bit of line work on him, just little squiggly lines, nothing hard. Here the black dots were done first, and let them dry, and you come back and put in the yellow. Here we did big black dots, and then I did the swirl with the blue and the turquoise, and then added a bunch of little black dots in different sizes. So they're really, really easy. It's just that lots of color and really nice and bright, and that's what we wanted with those. Then for our current box that we're working on, we did have Hannah, and I'm pouring more of her. And then we had Morty, and then we had Pappy, the sitting guy. So you could add those too if you wanted those, because now those molds are dry and I can pour some more of those again. So just a couple extra things. And then if you have more than fits in your box, you'll get $9.99 if you're a Bisque box subscriber on a second or third or fourth box, whatever you get. So we do that too for our Bisque boxers, and you can add paint and brushes and stuff like that. So then here's a couple examples for our June 24th, so make sure you mark your calendar after the show. We'll have a Facebook Live 4th of July celebration. So we have a couple pieces that are left from some of the boxes, and they're already bundled up and wrapped, so Courtney doesn't want to unbundle them and put them on the shelf. So this is the mummy from when we did one of the Halloween boxes. So we'll just show you guys. So it's just a handful. There's not a whole ton of it, but it's we just want to clean out the shelves. This is a 5-inch snowman, so we'll kind of have a little live show. We have a few of these purple brushes that we can no longer get, so we'll be offering what's left of those during that June 24th show after the show. So that's just example of a couple of things we'll be having.
Trucks with the toppers.
And then we have all 3 trucks that Clay Magic has. Now this one was requested to have it's the classic truck, and they requested to have the window cut out, so we can do that. Then I also cut out the back and put that in the bottom, and then a clip light will fit in here, and that way the light isn't shining down onto the table because it's a big pour hole. So that's how we do those. And then these are cut out so the truck toppers fit in those, and we do have all the truck toppers. So this is the Halloween truck topper.
That's Marie's topper.
So Marie, this is your topper. And then here's the jack-o'-lantern one. So the jack-o'-lanterns can be cut out, and then you put the clip light in there, and then that'll light that up. Without that hole made smaller, the clip light really doesn't fit in there. It's too big. But we do have all the truck inserts as well if you want to add any of those to your Bisque boxes, and you can just message Courtney on that. And what else you got there? The 4th of July one?
Have some supplies too.
4th of July one. Here's one of the 4th of July ones. There's actually 2 4th of July ones. One has the teddy bear on him, Uncle Sam. But this is the regular one with the rockets on it, and it looks like she's got one more back there, a watermelon one. But we do have all the truck inserts and the campers, and here's our little pumpkin one. So you can add any of that stuff to your Bisque box orders anytime that can get them to fit, and then you can get that second box for $9.99 shipping. And then we have other supplies as well, this is a brush on glitter product, so this is red. There's tons of colors. There's the rainbow color, and there's Halloween colors, and you would just dip into that, and let's see, what can we paint it on? We'll paint it on the bottom of our mushroom. Say your mushroom was painted, it's kind of got a glue in it, and then that glue dries clear, and then you have the sparklies on it. Yeah, Courtney said the red would be nice on the 4th of July one, so now we're going to wipe the glitter off my little thing here. But that's how the brush on glitter stuff works, and we have we don't have every color right now because we kind of sold out on those before, but we have quite a few. This is just the red. But we do carry other supplies like the pin lights, the brush on glitter, brushes that we're a little bit limited on, but she is putting in the order next week. What else? Pin lights, clip lights, tree lights. Courtney's gonna make a.
Next week should be better.
Courtney will have some more time next week, so she'll get a page, hopefully on Brenda's Brushstrokes and Bisque, where you can see what we have and you can add it to your box just by messaging her. You don't want to go out on Brenda's Brushstrokes and Bisque.com and check out, because then it's going to charge you shipping. But if you just message her, Say you wanted brushes, just message her what you want. If you want paint, just message her what you want. Like we had a couple messages last week. They didn't know that we even carried paint. So some of our ladies have extra colors of paint added to their boxes besides the colors that may be used in the box. The only thing we don't ship in the box is the spray sealers because they are a hazardous material and they can't go air. They have to go by ground, so we don't ship those in your boxes. But otherwise, you can get paints and brushes and brush-on sealers and the Mako metallics for making the rust and the patina and all those good little things. If you have any questions, just send us a message and Courtney will take care of that for you. And if she can't answer it, then she sends it to me. And we're getting a little bit caught up here on orders. I think the boxers, you guys are all just about caught up. And then as far as the shop people that are picking up stuff, that's just about all caught up as well. So we're doing pretty good that way. Although our shelves are getting a little empty, so I got to get stuff poured for the shelves for the classroom. But we will try to finish up our Fungus Among Us box next week. And if you guys are enjoying our Thursday night lives, gives us some thumbs up and hearts. So we'll finish up this box and then your, what'd you call the June box?
Garden Friends.
Oh, Garden Friends box, which is being mailed on Monday and Tuesday. And then 3 more, I think Courtney says she has left. Yeah. And then a couple other orders, Bisque orders. So otherwise, send her a message because she is behind on messages in case you think she missed something.
Show them how to sign up for the notifications.
Oh, so Courtney's going to show you how to sign up for notifications.
Okay, so for notifications on your device, if you tap the screen, there's a little bell off to the right. Come on this side.
I'm just going to wipe this because it's kind of dusty.
So if you tap your screen, there's a little bell here. You tap that, and then down here it'll let you know if you are signed up for all the live notifications or if you're not signed up at all. So if you want to get a notification for when we go live, make sure the all live notification is selected. Okay.
So that was Courtney showing you guys how to put on the notifications. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. If you don't, message her and she can maybe walk you through it. But otherwise, have a great week, everyone. Try to stay cool, stay safe and healthy, and we will be with you guys next Thursday, and hopefully we'll finish this little box up and we can move on to our next one. So have a great week, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight.